Welcome everybody. This is Activities Across Grade Levels, and our topic today is celebrating holidays. Now, that's the kind of thing where we've got two different ideas going on there. Holidays, clearly enough, is a complex issue in many ways, but if we're celebrating, it's pretty straightforward. And we're celebrating that you're joining us because it is good fun to share ideas with folks who are ready to go. And twice in one day, I didn't even need this slide to remind me that I should do that. Dig me. All right. And thank you for joining us. We're always happy to be able to share ideas with folks who are kind of in that space of share something cool, bring it. All right. I want an idea for a kid that I've had trouble reaching. That's I think a good way to think about things. Now, big news. Our webinar, the Activities Across Grade Levels webinar, will start becoming a first and third Wednesday of the month thing. So our next gig together after this will not be the 12th, but it will be the 19th. So if any of you are in that space, like, oh no, I met, feel free to go back and watch some of the recordings or binge watch as needed, if that floateth thy boat. All right, so my name is Rushton. nextvista.org is my little nonprofit and the entity that essentially sponsors these things that we create and hopefully make useful to all of y'all, right? It's a library of videos with things you might learn, in school or communities around the world or service to others. We've got other stuff like advice for teens and lots of over hundreds of videos for people who are learning English as a second language. So we got that as well. There are careers videos. If you're interested, just stay in touch. I am very happy to talk to you about that. We want to pass out a thank you to all the good folks at Fowler USD because we get Susan. Yeah, and she's part of Fowler and they're good with that, which I think is an awesome thing. Also, thank you to the good folks at the Krause Center for Innovation at Foothill College in Los Altos Hills, California, and especially the Merit 20 crowd that I am so proud of. And then also all the good people at Long Island University whose a graduate program in in educational technology has been studying the different things we do, including the Activities Across Grade Levels webinars. So thank y'all for having me earlier today. It was really good to spend time with you. All right, a big thanks goes to my buddy Richard, who is the mind behind Free Tech for Teachers and thousands of blog posts on ways you can use free technologies to make cool things happen in your class. Our next webinar with him, the two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff, will be next Thursday, the 12th at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Feel free to join for that. So it is good to meet you. You should meet my buddy in this, Susan. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, friends. My name is Susan. I'm Susan Stewart, instructional technology teacher on special assignment from Central California, from Fowler, California. I am a tech coach to 126 amazing teachers, and I have previous experience before supporting teachers in my K-12 district. I was also a kindergarten and second grade teacher for 14 years. So I'm really excited to be here and share my experience with my friend Rushton.
Well, Susan, it is always good to hang out with wildly cool human beings, and I know you are on that list. So my name is Rushton. I'm a former high school teacher of Japanese language. I was a principal of a K-12 school and then an online high school back in the early O's. And then I started Next Vista for Learning that I told you about just a little bit earlier. Now, how this particular webinar works is we take an idea, a tool, or something, and we say, what does that look like for the K2 crowd? What does that look like for grades 3 through 5? What does that look like for middle school? What does that look like for high school? And it's our thought that we pull these things together in such a way that they're useful, no matter which level you might be hearing about. You can kind of zero in on ideas that you can adapt for what you do. Now, I mentioned to my wife that the topic, babe wife, Tabitha, love you, that the topic for this one was celebrating holidays. And her first words were, be careful. So with that thought, what I want to say is that when we think about holidays, there are a number of reasons to be careful. Now, first of all, I mean, obviously, some people celebrate some holidays and some people celebrate others, and that's fine. And you don't want to make kids feel like they don't belong in a discussion in some way, right? So I mean, there's that clearly, but there's also the thought that there are kids for whom the holidays are not a happy time. So when you're talking about not being at school, that takes away a certain kind of structure that is important for a lot of kids. It's where maybe they get fed and stuff. It's one of the reasons the pandemic has been so hard. It's because there are kids that have been in spaces where it's just been difficult to be now for 9 months, 8 9 months now. So as we think about holidays, we're really trying to think about it in such a way as how do we get kids excited about sharing things that can build their learning in interesting ways? And when we think about that, let's think first about our young learners. And so, Susan, I think we're going to pass things over to you. Make sure you're clicking on that caption piece as well. And I hand it to you to make some things happen.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen and I need to, okay, turn on captions are right.
Yep.
Not that one. It's this one. Hey, right?
Yeah.
Hey, look at me. I just did something I don't think I have done before. So thank you for reminding me to do that. So yeah, we're going to be talking
about learning. Awesome. Go ahead.
Talking about holidays with our young learners. And of course, our young learners, when we are introducing anything to them, we talk about their own experiences. What are your own experiences? How does your family do it? Because their understanding of the world it's developmentally supposed to be small. They don't have a big view of the world because they live, what's at the tip of their own nose. But one thing we can do to get them started, not just celebrating their own, understanding their own holidays, something like Epic. I love Epic because of the wide variety of books. I just did a quick search today of books on holidays, and I put in world holidays and I put in cultural holidays. And I think I came up with something like 400 different books that, some fiction, some nonfiction, sortable by range, lexile, you name it, it's there. But I think that's a really great way to start exposing young learners to the ideas that we celebrate holidays. But guess what? Other people celebrate holidays too, and how we do that might look different, and just giving them opportunities to read lots of books. We want them to hear text read aloud. We want them to see the words and the photos. So that's a great place to get started, not just talking about the holidays in our understanding, but trying to see how other people celebrate as well. One of my favorite stories of someone really taking the holidays to a different level comes from my friend Bonnie McClellan. And Bonnie, a few years ago, did this gingerbread man adventure with her kindergartners. And they had read the gingerbread man like we do in kindergarten. And they had made their paper gingerbread men. And then something amazing happened. Their gingerbread man disappeared. And then for several days throughout the week, there were sightings. Like there was a tweet that showed up that showed him maybe over at the local high school. And then a couple days later, he was, walking through a familiar or over a familiar bridge in town. So she'd taken a little bit of extra effort, a little bit of creativity, and a little bit of magic. And the students blogged about it. They wrote about it. They wrote little digital stories using Bunsy. You can see they made a meme. They were just really having a 4Cs adventure where they created things. They communicated with others. They collaborated with, they had a buddies class up in middle school. And would you believe gingerbread man stopped to visit their buddies over at the middle school? So it was just this really great magical way to take something we do. We make gingerbread men, but just kick it up a notch and really just make it that 21st century classroom where they were connected. They were looking at maps. They were writing stories. They were making memes. It was just a really great way. So something we always do with the holidays, just kicked up to that extra level. Really, really fun way to just bring some magic into the classroom. Those kids just loved it. Kicking it up to the upper elementary. One thing, of course, as we started with the elementary, making sure that students understand that we celebrate holidays, but there are other people in the world who celebrate holidays in different ways. I have this Hyperdoc, and it is called Harvest Holidays. And what it does is it starts with a piece of text that talks about different harvest holidays around the world. We know our harvest holiday is Thanksgiving, and it goes through several other cultures' version of Thanksgiving. And it was a really great way for them to just start comparing. Thanksgiving, how does that look here? Well, it's one day. Did you know that this other harvest holiday lasts for 7 days? Well, on Thanksgiving, families come together and eat a meal. Oh, all of these other ones are about families coming together and eating meals. So it's a really great way to just have kids start to understand similarities and differences. When we start comparing and contrasting, we're really getting to that deeper level of understanding. So something like a Hyperdoc. I love Hyperdoc learning simply because it gives students choice. It's like a little learning adventure. The product and the projects that they do don't always come looking the same, right? The product at the end, and they take a different path. Teacher, facilitates a learning adventure. So in this particular one, teachers were able to go in and just give students those opportunity to explore a wide, and it started with the text. It started with the text. Of course, we're going to start with the text, but then they were able to explore the idea of discovering similarities and then understanding differences, because we know that that builds compassion when kids can see that there are similarities and differences, and the world can definitely use kids to understand similarities and differences. So lots and lots of fun there. In this particular one, the final product was actually to have the students create a mind map. And that's where I'm going to go right now. I'm going to go over to mind maps because this to me is one of the most underloved and underutilized of the Google tools, but it's so powerful when you're talking about connecting learning to the world. So how I open up my Mac, I'm just going to open up a new tab in my browser here, and I'm going to go to mymaps.google.com. I can actually open up a my map straight from my Google Drive too, but right here I'll just hit create a new map. So far this is quite simple when it comes to the creation. Students could do this. Your upper elementary students could do this themselves. It doesn't have to be a teacher tool. I can zoom out. I can search for a particular location, but I love the idea of sharing this collaboratively. So much like I can take a Google Doc and I can make many people editors of it, I can also take a mind map and make many people editors of it. So as the students went through their Hyperdoc and they learned and they became experts on holidays besides our holidays, like world, harvest holidays, we could have them go reshare or share their learning somewhere in the map. So for example, if I'd learned about a harvest holiday in another part of the world, I could search for that place. I could search for a particular location, or I can just say, I'm going to do the United States version. I want to do my pin. I'm going to do it about Thanksgiving. So different tools I can do here is I can just add a pin to a location. So I do that by using the pin and dropping it. That's simple. And so I could just label that as USA. So when I put a pin in, I can label it, and then I could start adding content. And that's where kids might add facts and details. But even more powerful, of course, is this icon in the lower right-hand corner, because then we can start adding images. So if I wanted to talk about Thanksgiving, I could do a quick little Google image search right within the tool and put in Thanksgiving dinner, right? Maybe I really want to focus on the food first. And so I might be able to go grab an image, and students can do this about a variety of cultures. We can, another thing that we know in the United States, a lot of Thanksgiving often has to do with, there's a certain kind of sport that we see there too. So I could hit the plus sign and add additional photos, like I can just put, football game, but if I could spell. So I can go ahead, and it's almost like I create this little mini multimedia presentation right here, because I can add pictures. I can actually bring in YouTube videos as well. And so once I save this, I have my pin, and I can do some additional customizations and edits, and I can, I can put in Thanksgiving and add some facts and details about what it is. And then I can continue to tell that story visually with those images. So then when you hover over the icon, you can toggle through the various pictures that you've attached. Now, if another student did another holiday and another student did another holiday, and we're all working in this great collaborative space, remember, this is a googly version of something. It's like a fancy Google Doc. And so we have the ability to share, the ability to customize, so much great stuff right within this one tool. And of course, then it saves right in my Google Drive, and students are able to create their own little pins to share their key learning. So whatever country or region that they learned about, they could add it there and become this collaborative learning space. Instead of just retelling on a graphic organizer, we've got a product from which others can learn, and that really is the magic. So I love the idea of using Google My Maps to show world holidays, not just holidays where we are, but holidays from other places as well. And of course, a really simple way to have students share and just reflect on something like the holidays would be a Padlet. When we want students to be able to have a quick place to place an idea, a quick spot where maybe we can have learners from outside of just our classroom, because we have our Google Classroom where we can post things. But if we want to start talking about sharing beyond the four walls of our classroom, we can use something like a Padlet and maybe have all the students at the elementary school share their ideas, or even across the several schools. This would be a great place where we could have a buddies type activity, and people can talk about the different ways, just even within our own city, that the different traditions people have for something as simple as Thanksgiving. So just having them share their personal traditions within their family, and then everyone can put their ideas in one spot. So we definitely can have our learners kind of stop and reflect and evaluate on their holiday experiences, and compare those to others as well. I'll give it back over to you now.
Cool. Thank you very much, Susan. Fun stuff for sure. And that gets us to the fun space that is middle school. And so first, as we think about holidays, that's inextricably intertwined with the idea of what it means to have a tradition, right? And so when you think about traditions that people have, and I always kind of ask these kinds of questions with students, kind of in the space of, do you and your family have certain kinds of traditions, or do you and your friends have certain kind of traditions? Giving them avenues for talking about things other than their family, just in case it's a really difficult space for them, that happens. But so, for example, in my family, Christmas morning, we eat breakfast tacos. I'm from Texas, and breakfast tacos are a big thing in Texas, and there you go. So it's not as if this is something that lots of Texans do. That wouldn't be the case. But it is something that kind of evolved in our space. And so being able to share like little bits of who we are that way can be pretty cool as we talk to each other about just the little things that we decide are important. Now, when we think about telling the stories of what it is that we work with, Book Creator is one of those tools that I hope is kind of in your space in terms of like, this is the kind of thing that I can use to get kids explaining all sorts of different things that they encounter. Now, if you've never seen Book Creator, you're in for a treat. So I want to spend a little time kind of showing you how it works. Now, Book Creator is a way to create a digital book, right? And so, you can make these books about whatever you like. They can be about, your cats or some cool place or whatever it may be. But whatever it is, in bringing it up, let me kind of show you what you can do. You can say, all right, well, I'm going to add an image. You can, of course, add a citation, which is, of course, a very good move always. That can include links. And you can add text. And so when you click the plus, add something to the world, right? You've got these choices of import, camera, pen, text, and record. So import's just a whole range of things. You can bring in a map, you can bring in a YouTube video. There's just all these kinds of things you can add. Pen, as you do, this is like drawing stuff on the screen. Text, right? And there's lots of things you can do with the text as well. But let's look at the camera and the record bit for a minute, because when we think about what that is it gives us the opportunity to just add something, just add audio or a little video to what we do as well. So here's a little thing I was putting together about March or April, as we were kind of watching people adjust to the pandemic and the whole thing that was happening up here, maybe in your neighborhood as well, where folks would put bears in their windows so that families, when they were going out, they could kind of play a game with their kids of like, okay, there we go, like we spotted a bear, right? And so doing something like just recording your voices can be good as well, right? It's something that people will see and then mimic and know that it will make a difference for others, even if they don't get to see it happen. Right. So, kids can record themselves and think about what this can mean, right? If you can, even the simple thing of text, images, and audio, you can have kids, for example, sharing artwork they do and telling the story of the art, or sharing stories that they do and reading it in their own language, right? A lot of different possibilities with this. If you are really excited about Book Creator, like this is new to you and you're really excited about it, I want you to contact me at the end of this webinar, and I will get you like a code for like a 12-month subscription of it. So being it depends on how many people do that. However, if we get if we get a reasonable number, I'll try to get it to everybody, and if we get an unreasonable number, then what we'll do is we'll do a drawing and we'll get it that way. But beautiful tool to share. And when you play it, check this out. Ah, how cool is that? It's like the book page is turning. Ah, and even people who don't have an account can play this, right? Which I think is just really good fun. So Book Creator, amazingly cool tool. High school. So with high schoolers, what are we going to deal with? Well, a lot of different possibilities. One of my favorite tools in terms of high school is getting them engaged in stories. And so StoryCorps has a thing called the Great Thanksgiving Listen. And StoryCorps is just so cool, in terms of people sharing stories with each other in different ways. But the Great Thanksgiving Listen is all about the idea that kids become those who will interview like people in their lives, right? So elders, grandparents, folks like this, and they'll record those using an app that they put on a smartphone. And there are some beautiful, beautiful stories that they've collected here. If you click on stories in StoryCorps, I mean, there's just tens of thousands of these stories that are available. So you search on topics and stuff, you can find some really, really good content for people talking about holidays and different things that they share. And this is something that I mean, Thanksgiving is like one of my favorite holidays, right? I mean, just the idea of focusing on what you're thankful for. Susan and I were talking before the show about gratitude, right? And that's just a healthy place to be. One of my very favorite tools, no matter what the activity might be, would be a video editor that's so crazy easy to use that suddenly, you go from like not knowing how to use it at all to I can do great stuff. And I am going to point out Adobe Spark. Now, Spark is this very simple tool for creating a number of digital media pieces. You see over here, Instagram story, collage, webpage, video. We're going to take a look at the videos because there's a lot in this that can give you possibilities for some authentic assessment and things like that. So when you start into it, you're going to see all these different templates. Ignore them. Start from scratch. If you're new to Spark, go to the scratch, start from scratch, because otherwise what you're encountering are all of these different things that you don't quite understand yet, and then that's just confusing. So start from scratch is a good move. And then they give you this video that's 67 seconds long, mostly telling you what you need to know to be able to do it. Any tool you can learn in 67 seconds, good tool. So what you have here looks a little like a slide thing. It looks like some kind of online PowerPoint or something, but you got choices about how this can look. Mega, let's go with mega. You can see as I hover over these, you see what kind of transitions they have, as well as what the text will look like. So the fonts, because you don't have control over that. I don't have control. Look, it's pulling stuff together for you really, really easily. So enjoy that part of it. And if we want mega that's dark blue, we now have mega dark blue. All right, now here's what you do in the slides. You say, all right, add a little text. Thanksgiving, exclamation point. And then I'm going to add another slide. It's not really a slide. It's a component of a video. And I'm going to say, give me an icon. And I'll say, search on Thanksgiving. And so it comes up with all kinds of different icons related to Thanksgiving. And why not? All right, and then I'm going to add another one. And I'm going to say, now add a photo. It'll immediately search on Thanksgiving, although you can upload your own photos, just because I was searching on that before. And so I'll just pick one of these guys. I think these are all from Unsplash, which means you can use them, freely, and it's a great thing. And so now we have these, like I've got this picture, I've got this icon, I got this text. Here comes the cool part. Right here, this red circle right here. Click and hold. We're going to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving. You go to the next piece and you say, everybody loves Thanksgiving except the turkeys, for reasons that will be obvious if we were to talk about the food. But one of the coolest things about Thanksgiving is the chance to really focus in on what you're grateful for, because often when you're down, that's what you need. And just remember the cool things that are happening and have happened in your life, even if you're keeping it not short enough. I like that it's like, keep it short. Anyway, that makes a better video. So now you might be like, okay, big deal. How does this look? So I'm going to click play and move my microphone so you can see what it has done in the last 60 seconds as I made this. We're going to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving. Everybody loves Thanksgiving except the turkeys, for reasons that will be obvious if we were to talk about the food. But one of the coolest things about Thanksgiving is the chance to really focus in on what you're grateful for, because often when you're down, that's what you need. And just remember the cool things that are happening and have happened in your life, even if you're keeping it not short enough. That's some seriously easy, right? And so you can then share it as a video on a page, on an Adobe page, by the way. So none of those extra distractions you get on a YouTube page. I love me YouTube, but or you can download it as an MP4 and toss it into your own editor or things like that. There are a lot of different things you can do with this. But when it comes down to it, what we're doing is we're able to create a visually compelling story quickly, which is what I really, really like about Spark. All right, so we had a comment in the chat, right? Love Book Creator. Robin, let me know about that code at the end here, and we will make that happen. All right, so what do? We care. All right, as educators, we care about our students, and if we're taking good care of ourselves, we're in a far better position to do that. So I hope you are making that a part of what happens in your life. I hope you'll also sign up for my newsletter, because I will give away a Starbucks card to somebody over the course of Thursday when they sign up for the newsletter. So feel free to give that a look. And even if you're in the newsletter, or if you already get the newsletter, you can say, hey, I already get it, but I'm just hoping to win caffeine. Totally good, totally fine to do. And in that comment section, you can also say, like put my name in the hat for that 12-month thing regarding Book Creator. We'll make it happen. All right, I have a blog called Inspiring Improvement at rushtonh.com, rushtonh.com. And I've written some books on how to get better as a teacher, how to make your school a better place, and leadership, and how to use tech to make good things happen in terms of building the personal and professional atmosphere for all of your employees. Now, if you have questions, feel free to stick around. We would love to see you. But we also want you to know that in our next episode, all right, on November the 19th, 2 weeks from today, we're going to be talking with Robin in Utah, who is this crazy interesting lady who has all kinds of great strategies for helping your kids who might be visually impaired. And if you're like, but I don't know that I have, the stuff she talks about is going to be useful for your kids, even if they are not visually impaired. So she's going to be great to have here. I hope that you will join us for that as well. Susan, how would people stay in touch with you?
Well, my handle on the internet is @TechCoachSusan, and you can also find things I share under the hashtag K2Can2. And something I need to add to my repertoire here, and maybe I had good exciting news, is I actually just was part of a book that was published in the last week. I should put that up here too. I helped with a collaborative book about distance and blended learning. And I just realized when you shared your books, hey, wait, I did one of those too. I need to.
Absolutely. Get that link. Oh, 2 links that I want you to put in the chat, Susan. One, can you add a link to that Hyperdoc that you mentioned earlier?
Oh, absolutely.
Add that in the chat, as well as a link to the book. And guys, if you registered for this webinar, when I send you the follow-up email that says, here's the recording, it's ready for you and all, there will be a link to the page where we have all of the different episodes. And on there, you can click on, I want the slides, boom, that pops up. I want the links that you mentioned, boom, that pops up. And we're happy to share things that way as well. My name is Rushton Hurley. I'm a former teacher. I'm a former principal. I'm a nonprofit guy, and I'm married up. Thank you very much. And I am so glad you joined us today. So if you are in the live audience and want to stick around, we would be very happy to talk to you. Otherwise, if you have been watching this as a recording, thank you for spending your time doing so. Feel free to stay in touch, and we hope you guys have an amazing week. We'll see you next week in 2 EdTech Guys Take Questions and Share Cool Stuff, and in 2 weeks when we come back together to do another episode of Activities Across Grade Levels.